At least my explanation gives you the expo. Look at the next one, opportunities in your choir that you can explore. Some choirs have matured, very matured people that if they say we want to raise 500,000, the money will be down there. That's why they make choir robes. Their choir robes are more than 15. What are the opportunities within your church? Are you in a large denomination that if your branch produces one album, it can sell over 1 million copies? It's an opportunity. That's an opportunity. Your pastor travels a lot, preaches outside the country. That's an opportunity. Can the praise team go with him? What are the opportunities available within your church and choir setting you can explore? The next one is weaknesses. What are those things that are weakening the system? What are those things that if you actually put some energy to them, but for the meantime, they are the disturbances you have, distractions you have. So many married people bringing children to choir practice and then running up and down while you are supposed to be very serious. Yeah, but then you need them. But this is part of what you face. They are singing, the child is running and disturbing, they will run out and come back. Look at the other one, it says, what are the threats? What are those things threatening the effectiveness of your choir? Or maybe choir is even going to be extinct. Some pastors will wake up some morning and it is banned choir. Choir is dissolved. I know that wherever that thing is rampant, that church never really stands to have a good choir. It's always a bad approach to solving choir problem. Disbanding choir is a bad approach to solving choir problem. Because every problem has its root and someone is always behind it. And we're supposed to deal with the root. The person causing the confusion is an elder's daughter, is an elder's son, and pastor is scared if he takes a drastic action, the elder will not be bringing his money again. So we have to try other ways to manage it. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So I hope you won't give me this Port Harcourt look. Some of your choirs are headed by pastor's wife. And you have serious issues with pastor's wife and heading choir and all that. Okay, so I have some. This book is very small, but it's containing most of what I'm doing here with you. So I think if you have money, you should pick a copy of it. This is volume 2. We have the volume 1. That's not here. It's usually for worship leaders class. This is volume 2 for choir leaders and management. Volume 3 deals with, volume 3 is an extension of choir issues. And volume 4 deals with voice. Yeah, I can remember all of that. So I have the permission of Pastor Mercie. That's why it's on your table. So just pick up one. It will become your resource material. When I used to have handbooks, manuals, I remember when some people just come. I remember the person that came from Kaduna with a handbook many years ago. All right, are we done? I was just trying to keep your mind working. If there's the one you couldn't feel, leave it. It's not a fight. It's just trying to see how much you even have looked into your choir and thought about it. Because sometimes there are opportunities there, but the little challenges makes us not to even realize we have a chance to do something great. the choir. So it's important we survey the choir, discover those opportunities. Yeah, I think the light, something touching. Okay, we should be done with that now so that we can move over to other things. All right. I'll take randomly, and you are telling me what you wrote. I'm going to leave the paper with you. You go back home with it. It's going to help you really do some work for yourself and for your choir. So randomly, let's look at the strength of your choir. What did you find to be their strength? They pick up songs easily. Yeah. Okay. Very strong. Okay. Very strong cooperation. I didn't hear you say commitment level 1, 2, 3, or 5. Okay. All right. What's the level of commitment? When you say choir practice is for 6, when do you actually start? Go ahead. Because we did it here. We did it here. I'm not reporting you to Pastor Mercie, but we did. We are doing it here, isn't it? Yeah. And unconsciously for all of us, that's how it works. Okay. I've been out here long enough, around 11. And then when it was about 12 or so, I now called her to tell her that she shouldn't look for me. I'm around. And she said, she just called me. I'll just walk in here. Now, I was going to train for OPM. And one of their singers had worked with me as a personal staff. When she heard that I was going to OPM, their headquarters, to have sessions with them, I think it was 3 days, she sent a message to them that if they don't get here on time, I will come and open the door by myself. Appointment with time. Am I saying something you can understand? When I run workshops and seminars like this is the same way I treat it. I'm always there before time. In fact, for any class I train, I'll tell them, you cannot beat me in this matter. I will always be here before you. That's why it is very common for all of them to understand that if I'm not there by 10 minutes, start the scheduled time, then they must know something must be wrong. And I'll tell you how it works. If someone is always on time, leadership marks it. There are things you do that you don't know people take note of it, right? And I told you before that as a pastor of a church, I'll close the gate once it's 7 o'clock and we'll have our prayer meeting. I close the church gate and people will come and they will hang outside. They will wait till we finish that session. 7:30, I will open the gate. Now we have a brother who lives in Diob and comes to Elioparawa because he followed us from Waterlines. And he's always there and on time. One of the Sundays, I locked the gate before he arrived. All the other people that arrived and saw him were pleading for him to be allowed in. You see how it works? We are pleading for him to be allowed in. A certain man came to Jesus to heal his servant. The people persuaded Jesus to go and heal the servant. What did they say? He said he built a temple for them to worship. So Jesus, even if you're not ready to go, for this one good work this man has done, go and heal his servant. I'm just showing you something. If you can connect it to work for you. And don't you think the angels will do the same thing in heaven? I don't know. Just to challenge our spirit. When I stop at water lines and I see my choristers looking at their leg and their hand, I will take a run from Mobile filling station and run to my church. Then when I pass them and they recognize that it is me that has passed them, then every one of them, 2 or 3 or 4 of them that are, everybody will start running. After a number of weeks of doing that, anybody who arrives and highlights from the taxi starts running. Because they don't know, everybody's conscious, I'm going to come out from somewhere. That was how I changed their time from starting the choir practice late to starting earlier and before time. Then I was sitting in the church. When I realized that they are very much used to that, I'll sit in the church, and as you hit the gate, if I were you, I would run from there, and I have a little boy carrying cane, and he will be pursuing you. Now I'll be telling you, somebody's about to wipe you with cane, they will run. After a while, they got, yes, it was in that process, they went to report to my senior pastor that I wanted to kill my wife because she arrived late and she was 8 months pregnant, and this small boy must chase her with cane. So my pastor invited me to his office, so that's why I did that. I said, well, the other people, they're also people's wives. So if they go home and go and tell their husband, this is what I do to them, and my wife came and I didn't do the same thing, then I'll have a problem. Did you get the idea? It was not to kill anybody. It was to pump into their consciousness the fact that time is one of the major assets that God has given to us. The money you need is in time, and the time you need can produce the money you are looking for. You use time to make money. Every 1 minute you waste is equivalent to some dollars. That's my interpretation. All right? So issues like lateness can drag a choir backward. And notice this, those who come early and those who come late, you will notice that those who come late are those who want to go first. Right? Yeah. They're always in a hurry to want to leave. Secondly, you will notice that every time that people come very early, there is a different spirit in your rehearsal. The rehearsal runs smoothly, you don't have much pains with it. But when people come, sit down, 10, 15, 20, they are killing the spirit of the meeting. That's why sometimes you end up quarreling or getting angry. Right? How many of you have ended rehearsal without a real conclusion? You force closed. You are not alone. If I didn't pass through that road, I won't be telling you that one. You force closed the rehearsal to avoid trouble. But the truth is that rehearsal was inconclusive because the spirit of the meeting has been dealt with. Or when they come early, there's a high spirit to perform. And things go a lot easier. All right? You said they're very good at catching up with songs. Very good. Let's go to you. What is the one thing you wrote that is the strength of your choir? It appears only one point you could make there. Say. I'm not the choir director, but currently in church now. Yes. It is first more about this. Where you you know, are you reading? Yeah, absolutely. In this, in these few days I've lived on earth, I've worked for countless number of choirs. I have lost count. But And I said something along this line yesterday when I said you should have robes, so that anybody that comes around just picks up a robe and wears. It has done some damages in some choirs. It has also made people leave the choir because they feel they cannot always afford to be sewing. And I said that the anointing is not in the cloth. All right. Whilst we cannot stay on one uniform forever, we need to have a control in how we do these things. And I mentioned that it is an Ashebi spirit. And that is the gate from where it actually came. Please, if you are from Redeem, don't be angry at all. I'm just being honest with you. A lot of what is going on in our church in this direction came in from the Redeem. And the reason is not far-fetched. I lived in the West in about the 70s to up to 70 something. I was in the West. They like this Owambe, this party spirit and all that. In fact, before now, most Christian churches here don't do things like naming ceremony. But it has become, if you don't understand how some things come in, it's just like when I'm telling the Catholics what band came into their church. For you to see a band in a Catholic church, you should ask yourself, what happened? And I have hundreds of CDs. I study their liturgies. If my brain was very good, I would just tell you what several popes have said about their musical culture. But I read them, I study them, I understand them. I could almost literally worship in any assembly without feeling strange. Why? Because I do this thing moving from place to place. So I needed to have, a little background about every denominational setting, working for Foursquare, working for this one. So I needed to have some understanding. You need to sit with the choir management, right? And paint a very vivid picture about the pros and cons of this kind of trend. Some of them were my students independently in my class. And I know how many times some of them will lament about this issue. But it does appear that centrally, nobody has looked at it to take a firm position. Okay? So, and then some of those uniforms they make, they even hardly use it after that event. All right? After that event, to recall some of them becomes a problem. People just wear them. Well, there are those who are very happy with it because they feel that it increases their wardrobe. Yes, I've had conversations because of what I do, right? And of course, when it comes to uniform, the ladies will take 3 months to agree on the material. When they finally agree, they need another 2 months to agree on the style to sew. And many times they have quarreled, and somebody unconsciously uses a language, and then the other person gets offended, and it has cost a lot. I understand that. So, but that's by the way. I worked for Province 5. Province 5 is Woji. I worked for Province 5. I, of course, have had sessions with plenty of them. So I think I understand a little bit of that. So you need to bring them to the understanding that this in itself does not do the ministry. And we need to cut down on it in order to not to discourage the younger ones. When a man and his 2 daughters decide to be a part of the choir, when a mother and her 2 children decide to be part of a choir, I don't know if you want to understand what I'm talking about, then such becomes a burden, okay? Or 2 daughters of a certain man are in the choir. And then it becomes a burden if the man is not very strong and buoyant. And so you are creating You are, by reason of your limitation, creating a hindrance to people doing service. And it's like Jesus said, you have, by your your tradition, disobeyed the word of God. Okay, so you need to encourage them, and you need to really, really engage with them. I think Amaka is still in one of your church. Engage with them. Yes, quickly, let's run through. I'm already teaching by what I'm doing. I hope we understand that. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And our strength is that we have
more people who are willing to serve. Great. You are blessed with that. Yes, can I hear something from you?
For my own the strength, from each part, from each part of the body, I have at least 2 persons that give me that vibe, that positive vibe.
All right. Let's leave the strength. Let's go to the opportunities. Yes, can I go to this side? What are the opportunities you find within your choir or church?
Because you get more invitations, they recognize.
Okay. You get invitations.
Yeah, and it has actually helped a good number of us. So music.
Okay. So your choir is a favorite within your environment, and people actually. And does your pastor realize how often you are being invited out?
Yes.
Doesn't strike a chord on him?
Because that's why she started sponsoring to ensure that
Okay, so there is leadership support. Write it. Leadership support. So it's very key. All right. Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Leadership support. Can I take one more? Yes.
I think we have more fellowship.
Fellowship.
Yeah. So we come, and it's not just about the hazards we are concerned.
Is that House on the Rock? Which is your church?
Baptist.
Faith Baptist. How is tallest? Fubara?
It's fine.
It's fine. Okay. Yetunde. Okay. Go ahead.
So we are not just concerned about hazards.
Yeah.
We are concerned about them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yes. The people I mentioned are well rooted, and I've worked with your choir many years back. That's why I know some of these people. I think I used to know a lot more people. That's great. So I know there is something left behind, and it's being carried on, and I'm happy it's being carried on. And then Reverend Ibute came, and I'm sure you have. And of course, the Baptists have a musical tradition that is very, very strong. You may not recognize that. I've traveled from here to Ogbomoso to their seminary, and they have a very strong musical culture. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Really good. And, you know, that focus on fellowship is about developing the individual and their quality of life to make them ready for the rapture. Because when the final mass choir will be set up, you want to be missing. Yeah. That's why I tell people when they come to my class, your soprano is very nice. Maybe soprano coloratura. Very nice, very smooth. But when the mass choir is formed, will you be able to sit with the crickets on the same front row? That's what I used to ask. Yeah, because the crickets will be there, and the rest of the soprano singers will be there. So if you're a very good soprano and they are clapping for you in your church, something is wrong with your head. Yeah, that's what I do. You know, you don't understand what you're doing yet. Because your soprano is not up to the. In fact, I was playing for my students the 6-octave singers right now. You know what I'm talking about? They are voicing in the 6th octave. And then in majority of the choirs, let me be wrong in this one thing. In 90% of our choirs, what we have is 1.5 octave singing. Some of you have never thought about that, but you need to know that. Because if you don't know some of these things, some people in your choir will not know why they should remove the shoulder part. Yeah. 1.5 octave. And your songs, majority of your songs are on key C to G. That's where it ends. You can prove me wrong. I still have my tuning pipe here, and I'll test everybody here. C to G. So if anybody solos on key A, the person will be feeling like on top of the whole choir. Others are 2 octaves, 3 octaves, 4 octaves, 5 octaves. I used to work on 5 octaves. When I realized that people have gone to the 6th octave, then I told myself that I think my ministry in that section I have to retire. Huh? Yes, I used to work on 5 octaves. I think that's a different area. That's in our voice class. But 5 octaves. How many octaves do you sing? What of you? Okay. I just remember something. Somebody said I asked a question and everybody in the hall suddenly didn't know about it. So I should not be doing that again. All right. Okay, let's go to the weaknesses. Let me get 3, 4 weaknesses. Yes. It's like in that one you wrote plenty. So I could cite this paper. Not willing to learn. Let's look at this issue very critically. Sit down, sir. Sometimes that is our conclusion. And it's true. The tendency of certain people not willing to learn is true. But you know what I realized in these few days of my life? I realized that sometimes we, the leaders, have not used the right tools of motivation. We've not used the right tools of motivation. I told you what I did with the Jehovah's Witness girl. I told you what I'm doing with her. She's Jehovah's Witness. She doesn't agree to this. She doesn't agree to this. This is this. This is that. That is this. Right now, she's a favorite. And she can carry the recorder by herself and come to the rehearsal. In the whole school, when there are social activities, she's in the class alone sleeping. But now, no, she doesn't. She comes down. Right motivation. What do? Pick her up on any issue, talk to her about it, give her reasons, solid reasons why she should not. And then she tells me, thank you. The next day she's there. Gradually, I realized nobody really paid attention to her. Some things don't work well in the classroom setting. How many of you are teachers? School teachers? Good. Some things doesn't work well in group learning.
Yeah.
You have to take the student out, away from the group, and give him a little more attention to get it. So let's use the right tools of motivation. To the person, give the person enough reason why this is very important. They don't sing national anthem. Just close their mouth and stand there. The school will be singing their national anthem, even the school anthem. She will never participate in anything. But for her to learn the school anthem on a recorder would have taken some energy. And be excited. Because every time I meet people, I let them know that they are even better than me. Far better than me. I let them know that they are far better than me. You know what I will tell my student? If you're not better than me, don't mention my name anywhere, or people will pursue you. If you're not better than me, don't mention my name. Don't tell people you know me, because they will pursue you. They will chase you out. When I see the JS1 and I'm greeting them, you're welcome, Your Excellency, I give them a reason to believe that there is something bigger about themselves. So coming to my class to learn is very easy. Very easy. So find approaches. There was a particular husband and wife that was posing big issue. So, and they were pastors, so issues. Every now and then issues. So one day, the wife called me and said, blah, 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 blah. She finished. I said, so where are you? I said, can I meet you in so place? I called my friend and said, I'm going to have a small meeting in your house. Is your guest room open for us? He said, yes. I said, okay. I invited her to come there. Then I invited the husband to come there. The husband was not aware that the wife was there. The wife was not aware that the husband was there. So I was with the wife, listening to her repeat her stories when the man arrived. They took him into the room. I went to the parlor and ushered him to where the wife was. When he came in and saw the wife, he was shocked. And I told them, please excuse me. I went out of the door, then I locked the two of them inside the room. And then I went to the window and I told them, when the two of you finish settling your matter and you have agreed, call me, I will come and open the door. But for now, I'm going to Waterlines. I'm going back to church. It's not you that started it. It's not you that did this. Because people have tried to wade into the matter. They couldn't really get the whole thing done. So I thought it was a wasted time doing that. Lock the two of them. Let them deal with themselves. Now, face to face, you cannot leave me and I cannot leave you. Then the man called me later on, for 2 hours. He said that I can come and open the door. I said, no, give your wife the phone. He said, Pastor, no, you can come and open the door. I said, have you people settled? And from that day till today, these people have been able to stay together. Strategy, thinking out solutions. Man's problem must be solved by man. What is needed is the wisdom of God. That's all. So I go that far to just tell you that sometimes we're not creative in our thinking enough. You know, that's why you go to management class and they're talking of creative thinking, innovative thinking. What? Sista Mercie, are you helping me now? Creative thinking, innovative thinking, strategic thinking, and all blah, blah, blah. These things are key and they're important. So engage them. It's choir, but those Egyptian knowledge, they have some meaning and relevance. So you need to employ them. Can I take another weakness? Yes.
Inconsistency of past members.
Inconsistency of, are you even talking of past members or the old members? Discouraging the new members. Okay, the parts, okay, that are supposed to tomorrow, okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. If I would ask, what have you tried to do? Has your choir ever had something like a love fellowship, a love meeting? Do you break bread at all as a choir? Somebody said yes. Okay. Yes, as a choir, yes. Break bread. Have fellowship. See, I learned that some talkings don't achieve their result, not because what you are saying is wrong, but because the atmosphere under which you are saying it is not right. This is why I love the retreats. They help to solve a lot of issues. Because when we go in on Thursday night into Cornerstone, for instance, which was our favorite place, Thursday, I don't do hard work. We pray and I am waiting for Friday night, Saturday morning, when the eba of the week would have given way. by Friday evening, by Friday night, they can no longer stand up to do gym, indicating that flesh has been dealt with so badly that it needs help. Then at that point, I start teaching certain things. The spirit is awake. The spirit begins to absorb those things. The same thing that you are trying to say in the choir practice that didn't work is working. The choir is a spiritual team, not a physical team. The choir is not age group. It's not youth fellowship. It's not men's fellowship. It's not women's fellowship. The choir is essentially a spiritual team because we deal with spiritual things, purely spiritual thing. If you neglect that part, you punish yourself a whole lot. So I love the retreats. By Friday night, some of my guests will arrive to start teaching some of the things that I want to be taught. By Friday, by Saturday, impartations and all of that. Last 2 months, I told the choir of my headquarter church what I was reading from the notes that we took in one of our retreats. Now, because when we come out, I collect the notes from them, photocopy it, and keep it. And I was reminding them some of the words of knowledge or prophecy that we received in those meetings, because they're still there. And so it's easy for me to remind you that you remember during the conference, during the retreat, in your exhortation, you mentioned something like this. I'm thinking the person owns it. Do you understand? The person owns it. So I'm thinking we should do something like, you can't deny it now. It's in your. So I started correcting things. It became very easy to correct things. Because I'll make the timetable schedule that everybody in that retreat must have a word of exhortation to share with us before we leave that place. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5. In devotions, we do that like that. And you'll be shocked what will be coming out of some of your members. It gives you opportunity to discover that some people are more spiritual than others. It gives you, that thing is beautiful. I don't know. Because I went to the last retreat and I was asking them, is this the kind of retreat we used to have? I said, how far can you go with this one? This is not it. As people are closing there, yesterday is still alive. Nothing has happened to it. Yesterday I mentioned that it's a necessary Christian experience. If you have not been able to fast for 3 days here, on your own, I will ask you to re-examine how you have walked. Now, I didn't say you should go and kill yourself. Yes, 3 days. No, 3 days, just simple 3 days fast. Yes. Yes, you only have water. You only have water. Yes, you only have water. That's if you are too. You see why we have to sit very far from people like Paul and Silas. Very, very far. We have to sit at the back. What will you tell Daniel? The point is, I'm trying to encourage you. And I told you yesterday, Jesus said, this kind goeth not forth except by fasting and prayer, fasting and prayer. No matter how sophisticated our churches have become, we are weaker than the church of yesterday. The church of yesterday was not sophisticated, but men stood and spoke, and authorities heard them and responded, even in this country. Do you understand? Our number is larger than the number of the church yesterday, but we are less effective. This is part of the issue. And you cannot pursue, in real sense, pursue a genuine holy living and neglect fasting. Because fasting is one of the disciplines that helps you to maintain a holy living. I call it the God life. All right. This is not a worship class, so I didn't spend too much time on it. This is purely choir management class. So I didn't want to deviate from it. But as I'm talking now, I'm just wondering, because some of the things you will be struggling with in your choir are your own problems, because you are not doing the necessary spiritual jogging that will place you in the place of command. Not command by shouting. I don't shout. The only day I shouted with Dr. Goddy Dams, the whole leadership of my church came out to come and ask what happened. I don't shout. Even in the school, I tell them, any day I shout with anybody here, raise my voice, people should know that I'm going. I don't need it. I told you, I think it's one of your meetings, 9 pastors prayed all night for a madman that was brought to them. In the morning, their pastor came and they went to report to him that a madman was brought in the night and the man has been talking. The pastor sent them back to go and tell him to stop talking. They said they have been telling him. The pastor said, then bring him. Then they all gathered him. Pastor said, leave him alone. They said he will scatter everything. Pastor said, no, leave him. He won't scatter anything. He came close to pastor. And the pastor a pastor with a bottle of Coke in his hand, looked at the man and said to him, shh, you unclean spirit, leave him alone. The man fell down there, slept, woke up and was asking where he was. It's not by shouting. You are not in charge because you're shouting. Your shouting is a sign of your complex, your inferiority complex. And I understand how this works. If I call a lieutenant under my command to come, he's in the next room, but he will shout, sir, yes, sir, and run down here. And when he is coming, he is not, the voice he had is not the voice of Frank. It is the voice of a lieutenant colonel. That's what he had. That's what he's hearing. That's why the centurion said, I'm a man under authority. I know how this works. Tie up with the fact that this quiet thing we are doing, if we don't understand that it's more a spiritual thing, we'll be quarreling with people here and there. It's more a spiritual thing. It's more a spiritual thing. Music is spirit. Music is spirit. Every ingredient and element in music is spirit. And the first element for music is sound. Sound is God. Sound is spirit. So everything you use for music, you don't use instruments to play music. You use instruments to interpret the music. Do I make sense? If I put a guitar in your hand and you don't have an audition, you will not play that guitar. The guitar is useless because the guitar will not play itself. The guitar plays what your heart is playing. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another, so that out of the abundance you may be able to sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. That's where we are. So it's beyond. So if you approach it only from this administrative, organizational, and you're going to have a problem. It's too spiritual. But let me rest it there because our time is running. But the ladies have, only one lady has spoken to me. Can we look at threat? Threat. Can I get 2 persons tell us about what is threatening the choir and its effectiveness? You're my timekeeper. Yes.
For my choir, I feel that portfolio, but leadership wants to put in people who are
Who they feel ought to be there.
who they feel up there, who are here, who have more back position, and those people have not been followed.
So they don't necessarily fit into leading in the team. Yes, that's one of the evils of our days, where people make people deacons because they have money, elders because they have money. It's an aberration. It's country. Yeah, it's more political than it is spiritual, and that is not the spirit of the church. However, it has come to be in our time, especially for those who are starting who feel they need all the support. And as a matter of fact, whether you are born again or not doesn't matter to some of them. They just need your money. And they don't know actually that they can actually still access that money without making you a leader. What you need is a good interpersonal relationship. Jesus used it. Before he used Peter's boat, Peter was not a believer. It was a miracle that Peter saw that got him converted. Am I correct? Yeah. So there were instances where Jesus had to take advantage of what the people had around, not necessarily bringing them into leadership. And these things are important. Some pastors are erring in these things. And when I talk about the weakness of this church, these are starting. Some of our churches have actually been taken over by Satanists who have disguised themselves, like the Jesuits. And they have taken over most of our pastors and our churches. Please do not crucify me. We're dealing with a case of a very popular pastor in Uyo. I'm sure some of you know that story of what that pastor has suddenly started preaching. I'm suspecting you. Right? So some of you are aware. I didn't call anybody's name. And this is what is happening. And once these people get you, you see that, Sister Mercie, music and Satanism.
Okay, sir.
Yes, music and Satanism. There are a lot to display here. Once these people get you, they will pump in money to promote your church, as long as they are in charge. And they can be patient in your church for 10, 15 years to rise up to that place. And once they get there, they gradually start telling you how to. Last time I said, ask Dr. Panama how it works. He's our big brother. Ask him how it works, and then he will tell you. I'm sure probably some of you would have been in his workshop. If anything gets there, he will tell you. He'll tell you. So there you are. A few people who are spiritually minded begin to get together and pray with all sincerity and honesty. And somehow God has a way of using that to dislodge some things. I knew we had a case, and I think we were 5 who were always praying about that case. And God, who is merciful, in his mercies, he decided to hear us and send help to us. So take that. It's more a spiritual matter and something you have to pray, because you can't stop it. You can't resist it. You may become rebellious, and some of these pastors are quick to say they will curse you. They are very quick to say they will place a curse on you. But I've heard it once said, the Lord has blessed and I cannot curse. Let me tell you, oh God, Lord have mercy on me in today's workshop. Let me tell you something. Genuine, legitimate, and sincere leadership does not use force, curses, threats. Genuine, legitimate leadership uses persuasion. Always quarreling with all that. But don't worry, I'm not going back to teach again, because that place is not actually for me. I did that. They're always quarreling with him, and sometimes I have to tell them, you want to kill this man. When it will get to the point that they'll come up, Mr. Frank, if you were the one that said this thing, we know you will not even say it like this, and we will even do it. But for him, we cannot. Why? Because he's a positional leader. His whole head is full of his position, not the relationship. A good leader gets you to do what you hate and enjoy doing it. I told my doctor, have you tested the Afakadopia? Do you like to eat it? So no. I said, oh, doc, you're a medical doctor. You're missing a lot. I said, doc, we're going to do something now. I'm going to cut a very little piece. And I'm going to give you with this piece of bread. And I want you to eat it. If you don't like it, don't try it a second time. And then I gave my doctor to it. She's a prof now. I gave her a piece of, I cut out and gave her with the bread. This thing is not bad, though. I said, doc, there you are. There you are. There's nothing wrong about it. I want to stay with you and understand you and get you to do just anything without you struggling to do it, but giving you enough reason why you have to do it, and you will do it. And when I'm not there, you will continue to do it. I don't want to shout on you to do something, and then when I'm not there, the thing will not be done. There are different sides of the story. My church elder will sit there. Mommy, this method won't work. I want to carry it until they start carrying it by themselves. Yours truly, they didn't know when I stopped carrying it. They didn't know when I stopped carrying it. That's why I believe in those principles. They are easier. They work faster and better. No quarrels. One person just came one of the Sundays, helped. The next day, before I knew, they were two. Like that, the thing was growing until they took over the carrying, and I wasn't carrying, and I wasn't complaining. So seek better methods of working with people. And please, if you are here, don't let that positional thing get into your head. Doesn't really help. At the end of the day, all these things in life are temporary, very ephemeral. But your relationship with people will always speak for you. So build relationship when you are in leadership. Build relationship. The Bible taught us that a certain man knew what was going to happen to him, so he called the debtors and began to give them discount and all that and all that and all that, so that when his master throws him out, he will have people to receive him. Meanwhile, the other one went and another man that owed him at the neck and almost killed him, and he was invited to pay back everything he was forgiven. So why don't we choose the better side? Use a relationship in your choir. I told you I know where every single chorister lived. And up till today, they are not directly pastoring. We are so connected that I was able to bring those in Italy, those in Spain, all of them that are outside together on a platform and told them to host the Day of Ammon. And we're excited at it. Oh, okay. No problem. Let's not go there. Another story of it. So, negative intention. You cannot always have everything work 100%. But you must, I know that you have the Spirit of God and it teaches you some deep things when you consult him on certain matters, on how to handle certain things. You understand? But I'd like you to speak to me, talk to me about it. Negative intention, like? Oh, I've seen them over the years. It's always there. You want me to give you the list? I'll give you the list. I have a huge list of, just like I gave you this thing to fill now. I've passed out papers and ask people to feel just 3 reasons why they are in the choir. And yours truly, I got catalogs of it. All right? Okay, so those are the things. Those who come with those intentions and all of that, your only solution is in prayers. Because in some churches, you don't even have the right to tell somebody to leave. You can't even suspend somebody from choir. Pastor will stay in altar and ask the person to come back. I don't know where some of you are coming from. We come from the very rugged type of church. If you start praise and worship a little bit weak, elder will stand up and announce, call somebody to come and take the mic from you and just leave you embarrassed. You'll be praying how the ground will open for you to enter. That's where we come from. But prayer is one thing I know that does a lot for us, saves us from a lot of things. Instead of confronting certain things, we pray God will raise a situation and that thing will expose itself and that one will be off from us. We've seen that happen. So I encourage you to take some of those things in prayers. I just told you that I did auditioning, sent some people out of the choir. Somebody who feel aggrieved that her party was some members of her party were dismissed from the choir, banged up and set up and Pastor didn't know what was happening. The next thing Pastor has announced, somebody else should take over the choir. All the people that I managed to eliminate to free the choir came back into the choir. Now the whole system has broken down and they are now calling back that lady to come back to their headquarters and handle their choir. So sometimes the pastors themselves have blind spots. They are human. They have blind spots, especially those who like to hear from, they are humans. Please forgive them. Don't bother with it. But you can be in your choir practice. Pastor is calling somebody and asking how the rehearsal, what is going on and what is not going on. And there are people who do that.
Yeah.
You understand? So before you even finish what you are doing there, Pastor has a full gist of whatever happened. How did it happen? And you come to the choir. Those of you, you will solve the problem. That's why I told you, you must be your pastor's best friend. You must be your pastor's best friend. Pastor must have confidence in you to the degree that it can stop all of those kind of nonsense. Pastor must have confidence. And see, what solves it? Transparency. 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 When you lead your team with a high sense of transparency, you will not be there, but team members will be fighting on your behalf. Yeah, transparency. People will stand up and defend your position because they know it, they understand it. And that's why when you are talking to them, open-hearted. That allows some kind of, I know it's common with some people. They feel they are being, how do I put it? I don't know. I'm sure there is one English student here before you quote what I said. All right. I think we've done. Did this help at all? Right? Okay. So we will just run down the conclusive part of what we were doing yesterday. And then in the second session, I'll try and see how I can hit left and right together so that by the time we leave, we have something to go with. Have we talked about the role of the church? We finish with the choir practice. How to set up your choir practice. All right. Let me say something there. And for those of you who teach songs, take the time to first do your song analysis at home. Secondly, please, never, I know we have all passed that level, never come in front of the choir and ask them, so which song can we do tomorrow? Please don't. I think God beg you. Please don't. No matter how busy you are, and if it's so bad, confide in one of your team leaders. to pick up a song that will be done. Picking up a song is spiritual. Spiritual. And I'm sure all of you can relate with this experience that I'm going to narrate to you. In your life of singing as a member of the choir, two things always happen. Some Sundays it appears like you hit it on the spot, 100%. It worked. Another Sunday, it didn't work. But the choir practice of that Sunday that didn't work, the choir practice, you find that you wish that was the Sunday. So we can relate with this experience. When we sit as a choir, the other choir also sits. It is the ability to pick the song that choir will like to sing with us that always make the difference. This is the line of Jesus' prayer. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So tomorrow is Sunday. Thy will be done in this service, including the songs we're going to sing, the message that will be preached, everything. So it's part of the choir director's prayer that the Lord will ignite his spirit with the song for the week. And I always tell people it happens between Wednesday, Thursday. If you start early, one of the ways you can know that is that piece of song that drops into your heart that you have been singing throughout the week that refuses to leave you. Who can relate with my experience? A particular song just drops in your heart and refuses to go. Maybe you don't even know the beginning of the song. Just that melodic strand. Pick up the song. When it reoccurs like that, pick the song up. Look at the message that song contains. The message for your Sunday may be along that path. Use it and build. And 90% of the time, you will not be wrong. That's personal experience. 90% of the times, you will not be wrong. You will almost always get it. Second, pray that the spirit that speaks to your pastor speak to you. And that's why I said serve and service your pastor. Because the man who pours water in the hand of Elijah is the man that God finds fit to put the spirit of Elijah on him. I know that today churches are moving from father to son, or father, husband to wife. Just keep that aside and think of an ideal church where the brethren will have to gather together to pray for the next leader. Do you understand what I mean? It may not, in most cases, go to son or to wife. Because there are men who pour water in the hands of that servant of God before he left. Men who are serving and servicing him. And amongst them, God will always choose his leaders. Prove me wrong if your scripture says otherwise. Who was Joshua, the son of Nun? He was a servant of Moses. God won't go far to pick a replacement. It's there. Don't go far. There are people who pour water in the hand. So that's why I say serve and service your pastor. Now, please do it without trying to take over from him. You know, one thing about me that probably is a problem to people, if I come into the place, I come in open-hearted, no ambitions at all. Because people like us can cause trouble. I should be the overseer of my church. And I will have plenty sympathizers. A large number of sympathizers. And they will go any length. One chief told me when I was in Church of God Mission that wherever this matter will go, that he is ready. I had it and I ran away for my life. So please, when you go to serve, serve, and serve with all of your heart. If God has any purpose for you there, He will establish it. But don't go there with an ulterior motive. I've had somebody say in my ear, that all these years he's following this man. Is it in vain? Why? Because he wasn't made a Jew. Permit me, I've been here for some days, and the experience that sometimes we come across will shock you. The Jews, it's a transition, and this young man felt that he should be the one, and voiced it. Meanwhile, others were outside trying to find out whether it is me. Let's leave that story. But anywhere you want to go, serve. And serve in a way that when you take up your pin and you are walking away, nobody's going to call you back to say, come and you did that, or you did this, or you do that. That is the pattern that is profitable for you and for me. That's why Samuel can stand before Israel and ask them, have I defrauded anybody? Did I take anybody's wife or goat? As much as possible. As much as possible. Just like Jesus said, as much as light in you, live peaceably with all men. As much as possible. Serve knowing that you have someone you are responding to. It's beyond the pastor. That service you are putting here that this pastor does not recognize, God recognizes it. And when the day of reward comes, He will pay you somewhere else. I'm a living witness. Reward is better than award. I hope you have not forgotten that. Reward is better than award. Please, let us work for the reward. And He says the reward is with Him. Nobody will steal your plaque from Jesus. Nobody will steal your certificate from Jesus. It's with Him. That is, nobody can take it away. And when you do that and serve innocently, heaven defends you. David served innocently, served with all sincerity and honesty. Instead, he will not be defended. God will take Saul's son and make him love David. So Jonathan, who is supposed to be the next king, become a lover of David and was now defending David against his father. Who knows how to do that? So please let us not try to help God. He is God by Himself. We sang this afternoon, and He knows what to do. All right. Analyze your song so well that you know which part of the song is difficult. Allot your time. The chorus is going to take us 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Allot your time to it. And then this segment of the song is going to take us 10 minutes. The other part of the work is a solo. I've already given the solo to 3-4 persons. Don't give solo to one person only. So don't give solo to one person only. No. Sister Joanne, Margaret, Brother Paul, 3 of you, please work on this solo. That's the way you should do it. Don't give the impression to any of them that they are the ones to do it. That way you can turn your whole choristers to powerful soloists. The beauty of it is that song that in your CDs, one person soloed, you can make it a duet, you can make it a trio. You could come up with variety of ways. Don't let anybody sit in your choir from January till December and the person has not come to handle microphone, except the case is so bad. Oh yes, and I keep telling them, 9 people were soloing "Oh Lord my God," a well-known song, isn't it? 9 people. Oh Lord my God, when I'm in awesome wonder, Consider the world has made. One strong person started it. One weak person almost turned it away. The next person is stronger, brings it back to shape. 9 people soloing one song. What did that do for me? I repeated it and repeated it, and then I started eliminating the stronger people until the one that they asked me in the choir, what is this one doing in the choir, became a soloist. What is the beauty? I will not rely on Nkechi. And then that morning, Nkechi has come and she can no longer come. Oh, who will now do this song for us? I'll now go with Joanne. Joanne will say, hey, we don't touch you. And she said, Nkechi, they solo for you. Nkechi, call Nkechi, let her come out and come and sing for you. I'm sure you can relate with what I'm doing. Don't give the work to one person alone. Give it to 2, 3 persons. Ask everybody to work on it. When they come in the rehearsal, try them out. It's okay. I think 2 of you are good. I think your blend with her can be powerful. You do the first verse, you do the second one. I mean, you are increasing the number of singers and you are giving everybody a sense of belonging in the team. Don't let anybody ever think that you love Sarah more than Keturah. Put yourself in trouble. Don't. You know, choir masters have name. I hope people know that. Choir directors always have a name. And choir members always know the choir director's favorites. Then they are not the favorites. So don't give them the impression that you have some favorite. At least we have learned from Abraham that having a favorite can cause family problem. Right? So give everybody a chance. Sometimes you come to church on Sunday. If you want to develop solos, if your choir is privileged to always do like 2 songs, which is between 10 to 15 minutes, prepare a solo, bro. You're going to do the first solo. When you finish, the choir will do the second song. That's how you're developing people. Be a people producer. The Bible said that every tree that does not bring forth fruit should be cut down. Produce. I'm not where my products are. My products are, they are. When I walk in, he said, come on. I said, no, people like you are here. I can't do that. But I take pleasure in the fact that I'm seeing them and they are doing well in this town or outside. Very good. So be a people producer. Produce. Because all of us won't get to the same place. But if that fellow you produce gets there, you are the one there. Have that mindset. See, selfishness and craffishness must leave you. Selfishness and craffishness, they must leave you. The mentality that you have to be the one on the spotlight must leave you. Must leave you. If it doesn't leave you, and you're not careful, it will work negatively. I told you how my national music director emerged. Oh, yeah. Smoke. My practice. From now, you are the music director. And he was very small when they used to bring him to me. He's grown. And I realized that from teaching him the drum to play, he's playing the bass. This guy is better than. If you see that guy, you know that he's far better than me. I can only talk like this. So when I saw his reaction, I didn't repeat it. On Sunday morning, when the choir was to minister, I took up the microphone and I said, today we have our new music director and he's going to lead us in this song. He didn't see it coming. I just called his name, handed over the mic to him and walked away. And I told him, some members of the church even called me and asked, do you know what you are doing? That is, I'm losing my job. Oh, okay, he's been replaced this May, but he has been our national music director for a long time. And when my pastor asked me, I said, you will not look for me for anything music, and this young man is here. I'm not even as good as him. Yes, true, they have grown under me, but I'm not good as him. Please, when you see people better than you, celebrate it. Celebrate them. Celebrate them, promote them, push them. Push them. Do you know how many PhD holders I have made in the recent time? It has become a common knowledge amongst them that when I meet you, the next thing I'm asking you, have you bought your form? So when Celestine had his PhD, I told him, I'm happier than you. I'm happier than you. That's a way to produce people. If you think everything must center on your table, your lifespan is very short. Some of the people you're producing are going to give you life, and they're going to extend your lifespan. So be eager to see people rise from your hands. When I see people like Alan singing, I'm excited. I'm happy. I mean, I can't do the things he does. God has graced him in his own way. But these people were growing. It was Prince that was saying that the last Bonkers crusade, I was in Umuahia when I was invited to come and handle the mass choir. In fact, the way they gave me the call, they called me to come to Presidential Hotel. And I said, but I can't leave Umuahia and get here and meet. Come, where is this Ojuku coming from? Hold it down. He has 1 million that he's owing me. And when I got into Presidential and saw the town and PFM ministers, they told me that you are the one to handle the choir. I said, okay, no problem. When I got home that night, I was asking myself, what time is this? So I picked the phone and I called the Prince. And I said, oh boy, where are you? He said, I said, Bonke's team is coming to town, but not Bonke, it's Kolenda that is coming. They've just asked me to come and be the choir director. I want you to take over that responsibility, but I'll be there. And that's what I did. I didn't teach them a song. I didn't get it. I just come to the rehearsal and sit down. I allowed the young man to walk. When they close, I advise everybody and I walk away. I mean, how long will you be there? For how long? Families have done these things. People have done these things, raked, destroyed everything. As you're sitting down, always think of who is taking over from me. Who is taking over from me? When I leave, will there be a vacuum here? Or it will be better supplied according to Shakespeare? That will help you generate energy to produce people. And don't talk down anybody. This language that is reigning, you see your life, don't join them to say that. You cannot see the person's life. Don't talk down anybody. Choir director, when somebody composes one Ikwere song and bring to you, the song is in English too, but when they are singing it, it sounding like a Ikwere native song. And the person is coming with so much zeal that he has written a song and he comes to meet you. Don't laugh in front of the person. Let the person to sing it. The person sings it. It's okay, go. Next time we'll work on it. When the person leaves, lock your door. Laugh all the laugh. You want to laugh. As you finish laughing, work on the song. Try to rearrange it, give it color. When the person comes back and hears it, let the person go, wow. That's why you are a chief musician. You are the arranger, composer, you are the singer, you are instrumentalist, that's why you are a chief musician. If you cannot meet those criteria, then why are you a chief musician? When David writes, he throws it to himself. Anyhow they will manage and produce it is their business. All right? That's where you are. That's why you should recognize gifts in your choir, so that those who are better in certain areas, bring them up, draw them closer, tell them, hey, you are good with this thing. Take over this thing, be doing it. And your team grows. Chimenem, if you leave, you won't stay in Port Harcourt again. Our guy is a prolific drummers. Hey, I'll be boring you. Much talk. Can I break? You think that's okay? We're going to take a break. And then I said I wanted to finish this. But we're going to take a break because I think I've been talking. We should continue until she come and ring bell. Okay, let's quickly run this down because I was talking that thing from the rehearsals. Okay, we mentioned some of the problems and prospects of the choir, of the church choir, but let's look at the role of leadership. Number one, providing the worship philosophy for the musicians. If I'm a pastor today, I pastored my headquarter church for 7 years after opening the place. But one fundamental thing they will never forget, particularly for the choir director, is that when I walk in the morning, that's the first person I want to see, the choir director. That's my assistant. The other people are my assistant pastors, administratively, positionally. But my real assistant is the choir director. So I call her, I said, what song are you doing? She'll tell me the song. And then I'll say, okay, can you add this other song to it? And then she'll add. Sometimes she'll tell me what song they are doing. I say, no, you can't do that song this morning. It won't work for us. Go over here, take this song. My choir is used to coming on Sunday morning and being told what they will sing. Do you understand? It's not that great thing you do on Saturday. Every time we finish, they'll be changing song. We change songs. If they change there, we change here. Don't follow you to that kind of thing. When the choir finish ministering, now you now put your head between your legs, pretending to be praying because you know the thing didn't work. But if it didn't work, you raise your face, you're smiling at all the corners where your friends are sitting, so that they will notice that it worked. So she knows that once I enter the church, call me Eunice. I want to see her. What song are they doing? Who is leading worship this morning? She will tell me. Because they work with roster. Who's leading worship this morning? She will tell me and say, no, change. Bring this person. Tell this person to do this. Replace this person with this. And sometimes it comes, Pastor, thank you. Thank you. Because you see, as a pastor, forgive me, as a pastor, I have a way of weighing up what kind of service I'm getting into. It's been in my heart. Even though I know Sabido, I've been the learner at that time. It's in my heart and I'm meditating on it and I'm praying about it. And sometimes, even with the choir, I could tell them what will happen on the Sunday. Even in choir practice, I could tell them exactly what's going to come up on Sunday. So we have come from that line. So I'll tell her, this will work, take this here, replace this here. And because I'm a worshiping person, there are times that they said, we have this program laid out, and somebody is going to take over from the person leading praise and worship because it's time for intercessory prayer. And then I just step out and stand there. Please leave them alone. And then the person goes back. Because I'm in charge. Because if they make mistake, I can't preach. I'm not a preacher. Everything will fail. If you are very close to your pastor, you know when he is talking and when he is preaching. The difference is clear. And I know I'm not a preacher. From the one when we got there, I told them, I'm not a preacher. I'm a teacher. There's a way it goes and I can teach. There's a way it goes and I get into trouble. But you see, when I do that, sometimes I will have 15 minutes left. But that 15 minutes of exhortation, everybody's heart is full. I mustn't preach for 1 hour before the message will be passed across. Do you understand? But I use the choir. I use the choir. Because when I tell them what song to sing and they finish singing that song, I have come to church and I don't have a message. I don't have a message. Eunice, I don't have a message. I don't know what to preach. But please do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. I know that if your pastors are going to tell you, they'll be able to tell you what puts them on and makes them easily flow with service. So I tell her, you do that for me so that, and sometimes as a start, bam, a word just comes. I just pick it up That's it. Thank you, Lord. I will not be embarrassed today. You know, if you are not being a preacher, you know what it means to be embarrassed. This Bible that you see that is very big, you will open from Genesis. You are looking for a message that is the one that you have prayed that your 20-30 minutes prayer, nothing is dropping. Then you will now start opening the Bible. After opening the Bible, you get tired. You now carry all your old notes to try and see some topics that you have worked on. I beg, service your pastor. I've been there, so I can tell you that. And that's how we work. When you can do that, always for your pastor. Probably it is the reason some of you are complaining that pastor is insisting one particular person should sing. Because the person knows how to turn him on. Yes, sometimes that's what's happening. So please don't get angry with it. Just find a better way to balance it up. All right. Provide the philosophy of music. That's what the church responsibility is. And I said some of you now, if you go back now and ask your pastor, what is the philosophy of music for this church? He'll carry his two hands on his head. He will ask you, which one is that? So that's why I said, you can work it out. If you have been there, you can put a framework and get something ready. Choose competent leadership for the music department. Somebody just talked about people just being placed anyhow. I remember I went to Newi to resolve a choir problem, and these were some of the issues. Provide adequate, please, if you are close to a pastor and he's not a musician and musically inclined, there are different ways to work around it. Give him messages, teachings on worship. Just tell him, Pastor, there is this teaching I had. Pastor, this thing, it blessed my life. So he's curious. He wants to know, right? So he slots it in and he's listening to it and he's listening to it. What you are doing is you are sowing a seed, right? And then eventually revelations will pop up. They know Jack Hayford. So give him Jack Hayford's book. They know Miles Monroe. So give him Miles Monroe's book. Do you know how many teachings Miles Monroe have on worship alone? So bring it down, give it. They love Miles Monroe. They listen to his message. They love Jack Hayford. They will listen to his message. They love Ron Kenoly. They listen to his music. They listen to his message. So source for materials to help your pastor. Did I say something? Right, source for materials so that you won't be angry with him. Provide adequate fund for the smooth running of the department. Choir robe is a responsibility of the church. It's not choir members that are supposed to sew choir robe. However, if we have the opportunity, we can contribute to make it happen. Am I clear? Everything that the priest and the Levites will wear in the presence of God in doing service is to be provided by Israel. Does that make sense? Hey, don't carry that one now and go and fight your pastor. I'm just giving you understanding. Times have changed and things have shifted. However, if we can, we improvise. But let the church know it is their responsibility to do this. Now, don't go and tell them church is your responsibility. That is the day you will leave that church. Just tell them that you need their support. Tell them that you need their support to make a robe. Then first make sure you get a good design of the robe, that when you show it to them, play a video of a choir wearing robe and singing. When they see it, you mean that a choir can, and they're always there, those type of people. Once they hear it, they're always there. I tell people that I pastor a church, that somebody will stay on rig and call me and say, Pastor, are we doing anything in church today? Is there anything needed? It's a privilege. It's a privilege to have such people in your church. Not calling and read to ask, is there anything needed? I have plenty stories to tell you. That's not story day. Ensure provision and timely maintenance of equipment. This is where some of you have problem. The pastor that you met to tell him that the guitar string is bad is asking you, in on court. He's asking whether it has caught. Now, that shows you that the pastor or that leader is not much acquainted with what happens with this instrument. If you play a regular bass guitar, you ought to change the string every 3 months. Because we are also very poor in maintenance. The ideal situation is that you have your oiled pad. When you finish playing the guitar, you are supposed to use that pad and clean the entire string. But we don't. So the sweat from our hand carries salt and therefore comes in contact with these metal, stuff, and then become rusty. And as they get rusty, tuning them to get your perfect A becomes a problem. Then, of course, if you're ignorant, your tuning machine is already having a problem because you're forcing it to give you that particular pitch. All right? So that's how the problem starts. Now, when you meet such occasions, what you need is to educate. Pastor, we play it 3 times in a week. And when they play, their hands sweat. That sweat carries salt. It used to cause rust. That is why we have to be changing it regularly. Pastor, if you don't change the string, you will be forced to buy a new guitar because the tuning pegs will start distuning. Once he has a light, he will understand. Because they accuse choir directors of always collecting money. I didn't talk about you. I didn't mention your name. Most choir directors are not in the good books because the church leadership always think that they always come in to collect money. Every time money. But they don't understand that there are consumables. That is why our drummer is using one drumstick for worship and for praise. Because if you go to ask for another drumstick, they will ask him, the other one you don't spoil. Meanwhile, the drummer is supposed to have his kit. The harder the music, the lighter the stick. Right? When it gets soft, he goes to the brush. And all of that. This thing is knowledge. Maybe it's Pastor Mercie who will give the assignment. The next workshop she will hold should be executive for pastors only. No, she can liaise with her. If they hear her pastor's name, they will come. All right. But the pastors are not, they are not well informed in this area, except those who pass through the music department, like I said yesterday. Is that okay? All right. Provide strong incentive and motivation for members of the choir, such as prize, awards, gifts, and all that. Yes. You can collaborate with the church. You can collaborate with lovers of music within your church and have a small board of patrons. How many of you have board of patrons for your choir? Okay, you have. Okay. How many of you? The rest of us don't bother. You have to have how bad. The ministry needs support. There are lovers of music. Sometimes they even come to you by themselves, but you didn't know why they came. You want to understand that? They came to tell you, choir director, we are blessed today. They shook your hands, smiling, right? Good. They came to introduce themselves to you. What they are saying is there anything we can do to support so that we can be this blessed every time? Interpret it. Such people, you could just take 1, 2, 3, then just go sit down with them and just give them an understanding of the working of the choir and that you like them to just support the choir ministry. You will be shocked. In this life, there are people who are looking for opportunities to use their money to serve. Yeah, and they are there in your church. You'll be shocked what you come out with. And then at the end of the day, that's why I miss Chief Brown. We miss the man. How can we go on Christmas without envelopes in our hand? We will not. 500,000, share it for them. So there are those kind of people. They're always there. And they will support you. All right. And then do you have your choir personal evaluation forms? Do you use something like that? So, okay. This is a learning class. I hope you know. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Every choir director should have a personal assessment form in his choir. What will that help you do? It will help you to mark the progress of people in your choir. And it will also help you to be able to channel appreciation in the proper manner. All right? By December, as you are rounding up to take the Christmas break, there are people you ought to appreciate. Invite pastor. Cook plenty food. Invite pastor. In some of your churches, they do women's end of year event, love feasts, do this, do that. How many of you used to gather together and do that before you dismiss? Choir. Okay, thank you very much. So you need to bring the choir together and invite pastor to come and appreciate them and thank them. If you don't tell him, he will not realize that they need to be appreciated. All right? So pastor comes and he appreciates them. Then you give him the certificate. Oh, Sister Nkechi, you joined the choir 1 year ago. When you came, you were not this, that, but today you have so greatly improved. We want to say thank you to you. We want to appreciate you. Gives her a certificate. It's ordinary cardboard paper, but it speaks volumes for her. Last time I told you how you could use that same appreciation to bring other parents into church. How many of you remember it? If you were in that meeting. Let the pastor write a well-worded thank you letter. This one is targeted at people whose parents are not members of the church, but they are in the choir. They pay transport to come twice or so. Who gives them the money? Their parents. Some of them probably because they are now adults are supporting themselves to do it. But their parents are not with you. So you have this well-worded, powerful thank you letter with church letterhead and stamp. If possible, 3 naira is inside, 5 naira, 3 naira, like that. Well sealed, and send it to the parents. Then the man opens the letter. Maybe he doesn't even like that church. His daughter has just been forcing herself to be going there. Dear Mr. So and so, on behalf of the church, we want to express our gratitude and thanks for your love towards our church and ministry, and more especially for releasing your daughter week after week to minister with our choir. I want to let you know that the God of heaven will not forget your reward. We don't have silver nor gold, but this little token for your Christmas. Thank you. Yours sincerely, Reverend so and so. That man will read that letter 20 times and more. I'm telling you things that I know practically have worked for me. That man will read that later. In fact, any day the girl is coming, the child is coming to choir practice late, she'll be flogged. Somebody with me? Appreciation. It works wonders. And so please plan for it. Don't let things just go on like that. But when I was a pastor, I wouldn't just write later. They kill the goat and cook the food and let the people eat. Why? They are part of the altar. And those are the things of the altar. Is it not true? Don't go and quarrel your pastor. Don't say I did not warn you. Anyway, they are hearing me here. So all those fat cows they brought during Thanksgiving and all that, you don't just sell all the workers. The tithe is for the upkeep of the Levites and the priests in the house, isn't it? Let me repeat again. They don't use tithe to build church. Pastor, they use tithe. They build church. Churches are built with offerings, willing offerings by the people. Traditionally, that's what it is. Now, I'm not joining the television quarrel. I'm just saying, when you read the purpose of the tithes, the sacrifices in the temple, when they bring the sacrifice, they say this one should be eaten, this one should be separated for this, so you can take a whole study of it. That is the original intention of God. So I'm just advising, when we have our annual Thanksgiving, out of those 50 tubers of yam, set aside 3, 4, 5. Gather these ushers who must run to church every morning. The greeters, all those people. Gather them, bring them together, and appreciate them. They have yam to eat in their house. They can afford the chicken. But this is your way of saying, I truly appreciate your support here. That's what I want you, choir director, to also do with your choir. At the beginning of the year, we have our retreat. Middle of the year, we have our retreat. End of the year, we have our retreat. We take the time to do all of that. You come to 2 rehearsals every week and all of that. Yes, it is God that we are doing this for, but we are working with men and should be appreciated. All right? Let's run away from there. Let's look at the timekeeper. Let's look at the problems. Number 1 are personal, having a sound and responsible music minister to head the choir, having responsible and mature singers and musicians, finding dedicated and visionary people who have received a call from God upon their life. Those are some of the challenges you face. We're just talking of people who don't want to learn, unteachable, and these are problems. Cost of equipment. Some of you are in the churches that the equipments are very wonderful. They are so wonderful that they are now frustrating your effort to grow. But if you are in a typical church has a lot they spend on. And like I always say, part of the problem in this part of the world is that our churches don't budget. What did I say they don't do? We don't budget. So budgeting allows you to plan and balance the growth of your church systematically. So that if this year you are facing this direction, the next year the other direction, like that, so that you can go to some powerfully anointed church, anointing full everywhere, but the symbol don't tear into 2. When they hit the symbol, you have, all right. The drummer is putting 3 plastic chairs together to be able to sit. All right, we have all those things. All right. We have issues of salaries and wages and people's capacity on the basis of their earning. We just talked about uniform. When people are not earning, capacity is not strong, and you are church anniversary, new uniform. Annual Thanksgiving, new uniform. When you are doing all those things, you are weeding out some people and telling them they don't belong here. We have the issues of movement, marriage, and all that. If your choir is 90% of spinsters and singles, there's no choir in your church. There's no choir in your church. So they can be 50, but they are just singles, and there is no choir there yet. Because pastor is praying every year for the sisters to marry. Am I right? So in this year, you can be blessed with 10 weddings. 10 sisters have left. Maybe out of them, 3 stayed back in church because brothers in church married them. The other 7, they are going. Do all those things. And then guess what? Out of the 7 going, 3 are your strongest soprano soloists. Somebody saw the way they were soloing and just came and some young men, when they are starting their ministry, go around to look for people that will support their ministry. So when they come and see this sister powerfully sing, they say, this one can support my ministry. Say, sis, you are going with me. So it's you that is losing. All right? So all those challenges are there, transfer, relocation, and all of that. Now, crises have different economic crises is making people to shift to where house rent is cheaper, right? All right, problem of spiritual maturity. You have different age brackets in your choir. Some people naturally not matured, some not spiritually matured. Some people just got baptized, they pumped them into the choir because pastor wanted a big choir. All that. So when you are saying certain spiritual things, you are disturbing them. They don't understand where you're coming from and where you're going. Scripture says that at the rebuilding of the temple of Solomon, the old men wept and the young men were excited. Right? These things will continue to happen. Problem of spiritual maturity. Repertoires. How many of you sitting down here have a library? A music library for yourself? I think I've come back to this subject again. You have a library, a music library. Yes, sir. Stand up, sir. I'm not putting you on a hot seat. How many books on worship do you have? 4. About 4. How many CDs do you have in your house? No. How many CDs do you have? It's a library. The archives are still there. My archives are still there. So the digital, how are you keeping them? Yes, somebody raised his hand there. You have a library. Yes. What's your collection like? Maybe about 3, 4, 5 books. Okay. 3. How many recordings do you have? CDs, videos? Yes. There are plenty. I'd like to be your friend. Next, who else? Yes.
I have a carton.
A carton of CDs. You don't have. Thank you. All right. Let's close our eyes. Everybody, just close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Okay, open your eyes. What's the difference between all of this on the board? Direction. Direction. This is M. This is W. This is E. This is 3. Perspective. Who did fine art? You did? You are doing it like this. You're not sure whether you did. Or you passed by there. Okay. Perspective, right? Okay. Your perspective will influence your direction. And the reason I'm saying that is that if you can, please keep the hard copies. So that if you wake up one day and the webs have crashed, you will still have something to fall back on. Your phone gets lost and everything you saved there has gone with it. But you have hard copies to fall back on. Please have a hard copy Bible. When you are going to church, take the hard copy along with your phone. The phone is good. Don't think that we are old school. That's why we are insisting on hard copy. We are saying that there is a great advantage to ensuring that the hard copy is handy, because you never can tell what happens. Keep the hard copy. Your perspective will influence your direction. And what is my perspective? My perspective is that when I'm living, I want to bequeath to the next generation and whoever is going to take over from me a body of knowledge. So I have a large library and I keep building on it. Buying books is one of the most exciting things in my life. So I travel out and people are buying plenty of things and I'm crying, take me to the music shop, take me to the bookshop. And I'm buying materials. I'll come back and review them. And I'll put them in the library. And I'll tell myself, if I don't achieve much, when I'm gone, whoever will inherit this library should have a body of knowledge to guide them. If the Bible was not written, what do you think would have been handed over to us? Oral traditions are never always correct, because every man tells the story to his own taste. So you cannot punish the next generation by denying them access to the body of knowledge that is concrete. In your life, personally, it's a family. We pass that level where we depend merely on oral tradition. Some of you are alive, and in front of you, people are lying about certain facts that you know. I don't know if you have my kind of experience. In front of you, somebody is lying about something that you know very well. For instance, somebody is lying to me about my father's house, where it was built, the place I was born, that I lived till I finished school. The place I always come back to. Somebody is lying to me that the place where the bedroom is, that my father begged for it. Why? Because my father has gone. If you don't leave concrete body of knowledge, they will lie to your children. All right, training and exposure is important. When I reach here, I'll stop. I'll stop here. And I told you what I did to my church. We always go to the convention of Church of God Mission in Benin, and the Archbishop Idahosa was a generous man. He will bring in musicians, Scott Wesley Brown, Alvin Slaughter. He was the one who opened the gateway for musicians to come into this country. And we will have opportunity one-on-one, sit at workshops. And each time we come back, besides my studies and everything, I realized that I needed this choir to follow me to Benin. So one of the years, it was time to prepare for the convention. Then I went to my pastor and told him that I was not going. And he wondered, looked at me and wondered why. My pastor was an elderly man. Pastor Mercie knows my pastor. You know him very well. He's an elderly man. He wasn't that young when he came into ministry. Asked me why. I said that if I have to go, I want the choir to go with us. The matter was strong because I am the one that will go to Benin, do all the bookings, do everything, and then we will go to Benin. So he asked me, so what do I want? I said, I want the church bus to be fixed. I want to carry the praise team to Benin. By fire, the bus was fixed. And 12 people followed me to Benin with him. When we got to Faith Arena, I went to artists, good singers like Victor Atanaga. I went because we were singing for Faith Arena. So I went to these people. I went to all the musicians that I could grab on my hand because I have free access. I could walk up the choir staircase and I had free access. Yeah, that one of my choristers would like to talk with you. One of my choristers would like to talk with you. One of my choristers would like to talk with you. So I shared them to them, ask them questions, ask them how they do what they do. Let them tell you how they started and all that. You know, that one trip, I didn't do it a second time. That one trip fund and revolutionized the choir. You see, our pastors like to travel and come back and tell us the musicians they met and how they sang. The next time you hear that story, tell him, Pastor, can we go with you next time so we can experience them? Yeah, because you don't stay, you don't go to Jebanik and finish eating and come and tell your wife to cook that soup that she did not eat with you. That's wickedness, right? I mean, they have the money. They could, if they can't take everybody, 1, 2, 3, take them along. When they come, let them come and tell the rest what they have seen. So when I stand in front of my choir and I say certain things, somebody will pick it up and say, yes, that time, before I knew, those things that I was trying to struggle to fix started fixing itself because the people were exposed to that opportunity. That's why when Ubana was our national music director, I will stay anywhere and hear that there is a particular conference, workshop, concert. In those days, concerts were not like these ones. And I'll pick the phone and call him. Are you aware social program is coming in Port Harcourt? He said, yes. I said, how many people are going? That's what I asked him. I asked how many people are going. He said, yes, making an arrangement for about 5 of them to go. I said, thank you. Why? Exposure. 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 Some of the people you are struggling with, one exposure will change everything. One exposure. One. Because the thing you are telling them, they have not seen it. If they can see it once, it will work wonders for you. So create room, please, for your people to be exposed. Create room for your people to be exposed. Create room for your people to be exposed. You have a lot of work to do because you are the one with them. And the growth of your choir determines your own growth and success. For those who teach, you know that if more students fail in your class, the teacher failed. Am I correct? And I told you that by reason of your position, you are a teacher, a pastor, you are a teacher, you are a prophet, you are everything. So if people are not growing under your leadership, you are the one failing. So people must be growing under you. I don't buy books and not buy 2, 3 copies. And it gets me angry when I meet such books and I don't have enough money to buy. Has your choir ever done a book walk? Book walk? We do many rigorous things. Book walk, you finish this book and summarize it. And I can throw out, I used to be a bad reader then. I just wrote this book, you read it in 3 days. I told some of you I locked my pastor's daughter with books. I'm just locked in 2 days. Everything changed. So when you buy worship books, you can buy extra copy, give it to them, let them read. It was because of those things that I was running the library, even in the church, to have access to read. And I've seen book flog people. Book, I've seen people come weeping with books. Because I will always tell them, and that's the same thing I told the students in the class. If you don't have appetite for reading, we may not be very good friends. Because some of the things that I am sharing with you are already the experience of others that are also, so if you can read, we arrive at the same place. So when you buy books, buy extra copy. And if your church has a space, build a library. Call the carpenter to come and build a shelf where these things will be stored. So when you see, bring that book, you read this book in the next 3 days. When you're coming to choir practice on Saturday, summarize the book and come. Now, that's very important because the person will go and read it because you're going to ask him questions. Are you following? What are you doing? You are growing the person. The person will go and read that book. Or sometimes it's general. We're working on the book of Nehemiah this month. Everybody, the book of Nehemiah. I'd like you to study the book and summarize and come up with 1, 2, 3 that you identify in the book. Then everybody goes reading the book of Nehemiah. You know why? Some people have never read up to a quarter of the Bible for the 20 years of their life as Christians, while others are reading the Bible and covering it. Do you understand what I'm talking about? If you meet people like Adegwe, they read the Bible and cover it twice a year. Some of us are struggling to finish New Testament. I didn't call your name. It's New Testament. And the strength of your singing is in the word content. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Let that content, let the overflow become the song. That time I said we should go and break. So me, I'm not asking you again. I'm running. Write your question. Okay. Oh, there are plenty. There are plenty. I can even send soft copies on how, and then you can. There are plenty. I read books, so I read books because people have been here before I came, and those their experiences. You need it. Some of you don't have mentors. The people you call mentors are role models. You say they are your mentors. They are not. They are just role models. You like them. And the way they do things. Those are not your mentors. That's another issue.
That was awesome. That was wonderful. So that's our first session. And I don't know, maybe we'll take questions later when we're done, or maybe before we start the second session, because some of us have been seated for a long time and we are human, so you may need to move around a bit. So I have some things that I want to ask him, but maybe after we've taken the break. But the first thing, but I want to ask this now, and then we'll take a break. When you mentioned putting a small boy with a cane to run after choristers from the gate, is that not a bit extreme?
No, it wasn't. What would the little boy?
So it's not as if he's going to flog anybody.
We meet the president.
Okay. Because my mind was like, no, that was a long time ago, Sha. That was a long time ago. But my mind was like, and then you said he even had to run after your wife as well. Praise the Lord. So we would have a break now. Please, while we're eating, I need you to stand up, meet another chorister, another MD, find out, just bond, okay? Meet people. There are people here who has met a new friend here in any of our CHOIR101 that like you made. And so let's keep doing that, okay? Because you may be helpful and you may be a source of encouragement. I know that this guy used to worry Sista K because he met her here in one of our previous meetings. I knew that she was the winner's music director. And then he would call her once in a while to come and help him in his. But that's one of the reasons why this group is available, because you don't know everything, and there's something that you are struggling with. Somebody else may have dealt with it already. So during this short break, please don't just sit down. I know you'll be eating, but eating, and we'll just have about 15-20 minutes for that. Okay, eat and get to know other music directors. Ask them about their church, ask them about their choir, ask them how they are doing, what are their challenges, how are they, working on it and all. So are we going to do that? Please don't sit with your friends in this particular session. Don't sit with your friends. If you can say hi to your friends, but move on to somebody else. Are we in agreement? Okay, so okay, so that's that. So I don't know, maybe we don't need to formally pray. So please, Sister K or Love, come and help share the. So for those online, we'll go offline now. We'll come back in the 20-30 minutes.